Hello, you gorgeous and amazing human beings. Welcome to Simply Deep, our new podcast where the conversations are refreshingly simple and deeply meaningful. I'm your host, Peter Panos, and this is my lovely co-host.
And I am Ralph Habr.
If this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome. And if you've been following us, welcome back. So this is our new podcast together. I'm super excited to be here with my fiance Ralph and to chat about all the things that we love to chat about.
Gossip, stories, how we met. I feel like everyone loves that story, so let's start with that at least.
Yeah, so this episode is titled First Date. It's going to be all about firsts, our firsts, first dates in general. So it's going to be really fun. So let's start with the story of how this podcast even came to be. As you guys know, I had a podcast before with a different co-host, and long story short, what's the least shady way to...
It's never a short story.
The short version is probably that... Oh, goodness.
Without shade.
Yes, how do we do it without shade?
That's your forte, not mine.
So what happened was I started my own podcast before. As you guys know, it was Hot Topics. I had someone come on as my co-host. I reached out and I was like, hey, I love your content. Let's do this together. And I didn't end up loving working with this person.
And what was the reason?
What was the reason? The reason was I didn't really get as much creative control as I initially wanted, and that annoyed me. And, I was trying to book all these big guests, and her husband were, booking their own guests, and it didn't work out. I feel like we just wanted different things creatively. So we're going to call it what it was. That was my flop era. That was my Mariah Carey glitter, my Christina Aguilera bionic. Very underappreciated, very underrated, but it just didn't work at the time.
I love the comparison that you use.
Yeah, I'm a big pop culture guy. So we upgraded to our Emancipation of Mimi era, which is where we're at now. Doing things right, doing things better, and I could not ask for a better co-host.
Finally, I'm here where I should have been.
Fashionably late.
Always.
Well, I didn't even know you wanted to do a podcast together, so it's not even... You never said, like, hey, I'd love to do a podcast.
Well, no, it's you. I remember you asking me, and I shrugged it off. I didn't give it as much as importance as I should have. Knowing how important this was to you. If I knew this was as big, as important as it was, I would have definitely done it way before.
Really?
But I'm here now, and that's all that matters.
That's all that matters, and we're going to start off with how we met. I feel like everybody loves this story, and I don't blame them.
It's a funny story, to be fair.
So we met on Instagram during the pandemic. I don't remember who followed who or who messaged who first.
I followed you.
You followed me.
It's okay, you can tell them. I followed you, and then you...
You were private, so you could see all of my Instagram, but I couldn't see all of your Instagram. And I think I DM'd you.
Yes.
And
what did you say?
I said, hey, hands up.
There you go.
Which is the gay, like, hey, I'm interested. If you're interested. If not, it's okay.
It's always a hey, handsome. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, God, here we go. I was like, you know what? Okay. Let me reply back. So I replied back, and we started talking, and it went well. You kept a good conversation. Well,
first we were DMing, and then we sent voice text to each other because I like to hear the other person's voice. I feel like that's a big
put a voice behind the person, the face, not the person.
Well, yeah, like you can. I don't want to date somebody who sounds like Minnie Mouse.
No.
So, I love Minnie Mouse. I just
want
to have sex with Minnie Mouse. So.
Hey, you want to do a voice check.
The voice.
That's
check.
what it's called.
Yeah, the voice
check.
You want to make sure it matches. There's nothing wrong with that. So we were sending voice texts, and I don't remember who asked who. like for their phone numbers? Do you remember?
I asked you for no. I gave you my phone number. I said, "Here's my number. Shoot me a text whenever you want."
Not shoot me a text. Like, okay. Did I shoot you a text?
Yeah, I think within an hour, maybe less. I think if I'm not mistaken. Within
Wow, I waited that long? That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were responding back and forth on DMs, so there was no point in going to messages. We were still talking after I gave you my number, and then I got a message from you.
I'm like the least patient person, so I'm shocked that I waited an hour to text you.
Oh no, because we were we didn't. Well, it's not like we stopped talking. We were still in contact in DMs.
The
For that
DMs?
hour. I'm not worried about you. You never run out of things to talk about. I promise you.
No, that's true. I never stop
Our long
talking.
stories are usually long, not
I
stories.
never stop talking. I know, I'm very long-winded, I've been told.
It's a very detailed story, to be fair.
Well, I want to paint a picture when I'm telling the story. I want everybody to know, like, what the smell was, like, what everybody was wearing, like...
Alright, because
the weather was.
to how we met and how our first date was.
So what was it that drew us together is one of the questions that people asked.
What drew us together? I think what drew me to you was I saw your page and I was like, okay, he's cute. He looks fun. He looks funny. Let me see like where this goes. And
That's it. I'm just kidding.
from there. And then I think it was after the first date that we were like,
No, we can't go to the first date yet. I didn't say what my first impression of you was.
oh no, every day you tell me what your first impression of me was.
He had tattoos. He was like,
There it
He
is.
had his shirt off in most of the pictures, and I was like, oh, whatever. He's gonna be like.
What was the
boy.
picture that you said you always tell our friends is what was the first thing that you saw on one of my posts that you're like, okay, you know what, I want to message him.
I was like scrolling, and it was like shirtless picture, him at the gym, like whatever. And then there was a photo of him, or it was a video of him playing with Anubis, his puppy, and he just looked like so cute. Had this little like thing, and it was like a toy.
It was a shoestring, but it was like a thick shoestring.
Yeah.
It was made for their teething or something.
Oh, I thought it was just like a Middle Eastern thing. I don't know.
Okay. Wow.
But anyways, I was like, oh my gosh, like look at him, look how cute like he is when he's looking at his dog. So that's the video of you on your Instagram that I was like, okay, like he's very cute. Like maybe he has a heart in there, not just like a big dick. So do you remember the first time that we FaceTimed? This story haunts me, like to this day. I will
The
never let
first
this
time
go.
we had a FaceTime,
Mhm.
I asked you what you were doing. You said, I'm just going out to the movies with one of my friends.
No, we were... Well, no, originally, yes, but... So, one of my best friends, Allie, were obsessed with Whitney Houston, and her documentary had come out. Not her biopic, but, like, this documentary on Hulu, I think it was. And so, we were staying in, so I didn't want to sound like a nerd, and I was, like, we're staying in and, like, watching, like, a movie, but now I would, like, love that, but... I was going to have Allie come over, and we were talking, but I didn't think we were going to FaceTime. So I
didn't tell you I was gonna FaceTime you. I told you right away what were you doing, and all your response was you're staying in, watching a movie. I was like, okay, that's my window.
Yeah, but
I clicked FaceTime right away.
So I'm driving to Stop and Shop, like to go get like snacks, and I text Allie, and I was like, I'll pick you up. Ralph is like calling me. Mind you, I'm in sweats. I look disgusting. Like no glam. Like my hair isn't done. Like
As
I
he's
looked like
driving
a
through the
wet
parking
rat.
lot. You were driving through the parking lot
so you
looking for
FaceTimed
light.
me. You FaceTimed me, and I was like, oh my god, I have to call you back. Like he's literally FaceTiming me. So yeah, I go into the parking lot, and I park underneath these like the brightest street lights I could find, because you know we love a good light. And
You run on never out of lights.
yeah, Melissa Gorga raised me. I'm always about like having like a good light. So Lisa Barlow and Melissa Gorga have taught me so much about glam. So I go under all these lights, and I turn on every light in my car, and then I try to find like an angle, which like I'm in my Jeep, like there probably isn't like an amazing like FaceTime angle, and the thing goes and it opens up, and here's Ralph.
Let's go again.
It goes That's the FaceTime sound. Is that the FaceTime sound?
The FaceTime sound, yes.
And I'm like, he's like sitting there like shirtless, like on his like
Usually when I'm
in his
home,
kitchen, like on the counter.
here's my thing. As soon as I get in the house, work clothes goes in the wash, and I'm in undies or shorts for that matter. I just like to be comfy. I hate having clothes on.
Oh, so
I
that's why
don't
you're
need
half
to.
naked on Instagram is because you like to be cozy.
I like to be cozy. That's it. It's easier. It's a lot easier than just having, especially in the winter. I have 4 or 5 layers on because I hate the cold.
Yeah, I do
So as
too.
soon as I get home, that's it. Shorts,
No, but that's not even the best
maybe tank
part.
top.
No one asked him, mind you. You just go, yeah, usually I'm just like naked in my apartment, but like, yeah.
Is that what I sounded like?
Yeah, you were trying to be like nonchalant. Like, first of all, like, nobody asked you. I mean, like, thank you for the view, but nobody asked why you were in your underwear. No one's gonna be like, oh my god, like, why are you in your underwear? Like,
Well, technically,
a man.
what was I doing? I think I was getting the hookah ready.
Were you?
I think so. I was getting dinner ready,
Either
or
way, you looked like you stepped off of a runway, and I was like a wet rat. So I was like, never again will this like happen. So we FaceTimed, which was good because it broke the ice. I feel like so
Because
it
now,
was
like,
it was good.
we had the voice check. Now there was an actual like conversation
Yeah.
face to face. So like that, when you meet in person, there isn't that awkward like, this is the person in the photos versus the person. Now you've seen them on FaceTime. You've had an interaction of some sort
Right.
with that person.
But I mean, it was good because then after that, like, we were FaceTiming regularly and we would send, like, voice texts. And I mean, we were sending voice texts before, but it was, like, a nice way to, like, you know, because it was during the pandemic too. So you have to keep in mind that we had to, like, hang out and, like, get to know each other. So,
Everything was limited, so
Yeah.
we were out.
Yeah, we couldn't even hang out in
Everything
person.
wasn't as resourceful as it is now. Nothing was open. Not, there was a lot of places closed. So if you were in an essential business, there was very limited places to go. In restaurant, not every restaurant was essential.
Right.
Some restaurants like tapas or any coffee shop, there was no need for them to be open. They weren't open, so we were very limited to what we couldn't do. So getting to know each other, trying to like plan a date, that took what, 2 weeks.
Yeah, which I was gonna ask you. I think that's the longest that I've like talked to somebody and not actually hung out with them. Because when you first meet somebody, you want to hang out right away, you know. And
Of
that's
course.
I think what you hype up this other person.
You want to see what they
Yeah.
are, how they are,
and what they are. Yeah.
and what kind of character, like what their characteristic is. See how they are versus on their phone, text, voice. Mind you, I love sending voice notes because it's a lot easier than texting. I'm not a lazy person. I just think it's easier. That's all.
Well, I mean, it's just funny because we had to like, get to know each other on like texting and on the phone and like FaceTiming and stuff. Like, it made the first date a lot less weird. I feel
Oh,
like
yeah.
because face it, like first dates are like interviews. You want to
Yeah.
know like, do you want to have kids?
Minus
Do you
the
wanna
21
get married?
questions.
Like, yeah, and so it's like they're boring in a sense because all you're doing is asking each other questions. But because we were talking for so many weeks before we went on our date, we already got those questions out of the way, so we could actually just enjoy each other's company and have fun. And I always laugh because you remember where we went for our first date.
Committee.
It's this Greek and Lebanese restaurant in the Seaport here in Boston, and it's like the most amazing food. But the part I'm gonna get to
It's also a tapas restaurant, so you're not going there to
yeah.
eat or like not eat, but like to get full. It's not like a dinner, but it's just little finger food.
Well, I love tapas. I like to pick.
So
I like to like
always
eat a bunch of different things.
always.
Greek, that's how we do it. There's like all the food is usually just on the table. There's no courses, and then we all just kind of
You just eat.
everything's like family style, which I love. So, but do you remember like how nervous I was? Well, first of all, were you nervous on the first date? Because I was so nervous.
I wasn't nervous. No,
You weren't.
being nervous.
You didn't look nervous.
No, I would probably will tell you this now. Maybe I was a little nervous, but I think going towards that day, I wasn't. Until me, I don't get nervous until we physically get there. When everything hits you all at once, it's like, oh my god, here we go.
Well, I talk with my hands a lot. Do
Yeah,
you
you do.
remember? I literally spilled
The water.
spilled
I was
my
like,
water
oh,
everywhere.
he's
I was
nervous.
talking like this and like trying to land a plane or whatever I was doing, and I was like, oh my gosh, like it was
cute though.
I was like, oh, he's nervous. I make him nervous. Yes.
But they were like good nerves though. But do you remember the topics that we discussed in our first date? We got a lot of questions on like what topics to talk about when you're on a first date.
First date, one of the topics we did talk about was the goals that we had. Whether it was the relationship, in life, not towards each other, obviously, at the first date, you're not even getting that far, but what your goals are in a relationship.
But we got far. Twice. And then once again in the morning.
For the third time, we talked a lot about if we had the same ideas. We had complete opposite ends of the world ideas, but this is where compatible comes in. We're complete opposites. The more you'll get to know us, the more you follow us on this podcast, you'll realize that him and I are the complete opposites. Opposites definitely do attract, and this is where we are the biggest example.
Isn't that like how like when you're baking a cake you use like sugar and baking soda, or no?
Baking soda for
they're like the same but they're different. Don't you put baking soda in everything you cook or you bake? Like desserts?
Sugar, there's a lot more. There's
baking
eggs,
soda.
there's
Like,
butter.
do you put baking soda in a cake?
You do, yes. Baking powder.
What's the difference?
Baking powder. Baking powder, not
baking soda.
Baking soda is what goes in the fridge.
What do you mean?
Oh my god.
Baking soda.
He's asking me for cooking tips as if I know how to bake a cake.
Well, anyways, if you were wondering, I have the statistics of a 2023 poll, and they asked people a bunch of first date like questions. So I want to get your opinion on if you agree. So it said 31% of people feel the most uncomfortable part of a first date is the nerves. I would agree.
I disagree. I don't think being nervous is a factor. I think
Well, they're saying it makes you that's what 31% of people are saying makes them the most uncomfortable. That's what they're saying.
Their nerves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like 30% of people say that they get like nervous, and that's what made them uncomfortable on the first date.
There's nothing to be nervous about. You're going to meet someone. It's like making friends or something. I don't know. I don't think you should be nervous.
You should be excited.
To help with the jitters, some daters try drinking their favorite beverage, and that's 57% of people, which I do agree with. And I'm also very judgy when it comes to what people order.
And his first question to the waiter was, "Do you guys have reposado?" I'm like,
what's always the second question? No. What do you have for reposado?
What do you have for reposado? That's okay. Correction. That's what I should have said. What do you have for reposado? Especially because it was his first time, not his first time in Boston, but his first time on a date in Boston, I should say.
What's my second question that I always
what kind of reposado do you have? Then you start naming, and then the second question is, do you have tahini? As if tahini was like magic on a cup.
Wait, hold on. Do you know what my signature drink is when I go out somewhere? Like, how do I order my signature drink?
Margarita with reposado and tahini on the rim. With lemon.
No.
It is.
Almost.
What am I missing?
A reposado margarita.
Okay.
On the rocks.
Okay.
With tahini.
What did I miss?
You said a lemon.
Usually there is dried lemon with margaritas. Lolita's puts it with lemon.
Oh, I thought you meant
committee.
to squeeze. I would never squeeze a lemon into my margarita.
No, you know what we love? Those dry, like sun-dried lemons. They always of restaurants in Boston.
Well,
do
that's
it.
like a garnish. So I guess that's technically right. I know your drink.
What is it?
It's a Hendrix and tonic on the rocks. A cucumber if you have it. If not, a lime is okay. Yes. He'll suffer with the lime if you don't have a cucumber.
Lime is always good. I love citrusy stuff.
Because you're so sweet. I don't know if that makes sense because it's citrus. But anyways, wearing their favorite outfit or accessories is what 54% of people do. 46% of people choose a
like lucky
location.
underwear or something.
Hmm?
Do people have like lucky? Do people still? I wonder if people still do that. Lucky underwears.
Straight people, probably straight guys for sure.
No.
They have like lucky underwear and lucky socks for sure.
No.
You've been in locker rooms, you can smell it.
Oh my god.
That shit is ripe. Ooh. Well, 46%, I mean, they said they pick a familiar location. Like, I'm very rarely going to go to a place that I don't know. Or, like, a city I don't know. Like,
you know.
Committee wasn't a place I was familiar with. I just heard a lot about it at the time, and it became one of our. At the time, it was one of our favorite restaurants. Not only because it was our first date, but the menu was good. The drinks were good.
The company was amazing.
Yeah.
Wait, this is good. 46% of daters also say that drinking too much on a first date is a turnoff. So I have a question, actually.
Go ahead.
I don't think you should have more than like 2 or 3 drinks
Two
on a
max.
first date.
By the third, depending on what you are eating, I think personally.
Oh, an
Choose.
espresso martini.
Martini for dessert does not count.
Yes, it does.
What? No, it does. That's like a dessert.
Listen, espresso martini. It's coffee. So unless you plan on having plans after, that's one thing.
Is that why we had 2 drinks each and espresso martinis?
I had espresso martinis because they were really good.
You drank an espresso martini the entire time?
Yeah, two
You
of them. I remember.
Oh.
I didn't drink Hendrix by then. I didn't
I
care.
put him on to Hendrix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because gin just goes down smoothly. I feel like espresso martini is something that you're starting the night off with because you need that little boost of energy, and then you go from just don't mix your drinks. Espresso martini, stick with whatever's in it, and then go from there. That's
Ooh.
it.
Do you want to talk first date red flags?
Major.
So, people say that asking too many personal questions is a red flag.
First one, don't ask about the exes. We don't care to know about the exes. Who cares? The past is the past, and that is where you draw the line. If you're gonna talk about your ex the entire time of the first date, forget it.
Well, but what makes it like
asking what anybody else is?
right? But what I'm saying, like, what do you think makes it? It didn't say what the actual, like,
I
what
feel like
was
a
considered
personal
too
question is, I don't even know what how deep
How much
can
money
you
you
go
make?
with. Yeah, I feel like that's a personal question to ask on the first date or second date because I've seen it happen amongst my friends. They've been on dates, first date, second date, not even making it to the third date. The other person had asked, "Ooh, how much would they make? Oh, you make more than I do," and that was an issue. And I just looked at it as,
Yeah.
You-
Well, that's weird.
that is weird. Why a kid?
Because how do you even know if you're getting like married to this? But once you're getting married and you want to start like a family and things like that, then I think by that point you already kind of know how much each person is making, how their finances are. But I think that's like so weird to ask on a first date. Because how do you even know if you're gonna like if that person is even attracted to you, wants to see you
What does
again?
making money have anything to do with the relationship or where you guys plan on going? Where you plan on, like, moving forward together? But in my opinion, I don't think it was personal questions. In my opinion, I think it was talking about your ex, which I loved not
Oh, yeah.
once on our first date. Was either one of us, even the second date, second time we hung out. I don't think exes were brought up until like months after. We didn't care to bring up exes. You shouldn't bring up exes on dates by any means, or what you've been through. What you've been through, that things like that get personal once you guys have built some kind of a foundation of where you guys are going together, and if you're gonna be in a relationship, things like that shouldn't just be out and about on the first, second, or even third date. But I love that.
Well,
about
somebody
you.
had
Don't
asked
tell
me,
dates.
what if you guys know the same ex, or like what if you're in this like you know of each other? Because like I feel like especially in the gay community, everybody kind
It's a
of
very small community, especially in
knows
Boston.
but doesn't know everybody.
Yeah,
Like everybody knows,
Knows
of
of
everybody.
somebody.
Yeah.
but that's it. We didn't have that issue. We were from 2 different states,
Yeah.
and we didn't have mutual friends in either state, so it worked out really well. Fresh start for both of us. Not that we had anything to hide. We're very transparent people, especially in a group of friends,
Yeah.
and it went well. I love that. There was nothing to sit there and have to, like, you're worried about the person, you're looking for their flaws. Especially with me, when I meet someone, I look for their flaws, which I shouldn't do. But if I can't find flaws in you, I will be your best friend. If I can find like numerous flaws in you by hanging out with you the first time, we're not gonna get along.
Well, what are flaws? Because like flaws can also be like not a bad thing. Like I love some of my friends because of their flaws, because they're not.
No,
perfect.
everybody has flaws. Nobody's perfect. But with you, you were telling a story, and it was so detailed. It was so vivid in my mind that I was like, okay,
It's my
he's
ADHD.
not. He's not He's telling the story from perfect memory. He's not making it up. He's not over exaggerating it. He's not making things, building or adding to the story as he's going along to make it more exciting. He was literally telling me a story, word for word, exactly how he remembers it. So
You want to laugh? It's because I'm my Yaya's grandson, and I like to tell the same stories over and over.
we've heard
And,
the same
like,
story 1,000 times.
you know,
And I still listen to
Put
them.
more inflection on certain parts, make it more like dramatic, like really, really set the tone. Like my Yaya
It does.
really knew how to tell a story.
It sure does.
Like you were there when she was telling a story. So, are you ready for red flag number 2?
Oh God, go ahead.
This one I don't know if I agree with. It says, well, kinda. It says getting too touchy or sexual early on, or being pushy about staying out later than the other person wants.
It is okay. It is a red flag. Yeah, I would think.
But you can leave. You don't have to stay.
You should be able to read the rules.
Never drive together.
No.
I mean, we did it. But
We did because you
But-
you didn't know where you were going.
that's true. I'm like geographically like challenged. But
I don't let him drive.
yeah,
At all.
Yeah, I think you're the first guy that actually drove to a first date with. I never, ever, ever, ever drove with the person on a first date. You know what I usually used to do? This was my my
It's
like
okay.
go-to routine.
I have my. Trust me, we all have our little like codes to our friends. So go ahead, let's
I
hear yours.
used to go. I mean, I still, no matter where we go, I always look at the menu beforehand. I don't like surprises. I like to know what I'm gonna order, what he's gonna order, so I can like try
I
it.
sent you 2 options that night. It was for Empire, which is a
Sushi.
really good sushi bar,
Mm-hmm.
and then next door is the committee. I just want to stay in that vicinity, I guess.
Yeah.
Of
I love when you say vicinity.
yeah, it's my accent.
Say it.
No.
Say vicinity.
Vicinity.
I love it. No, I used to like order like once we would sit, we'd get a drink first, and then I would see if I was like into them or not, and if I wasn't, I
We didn't
normally
even eat the
wasn't.
food. I remember eating the food that night. We
I
were
remember.
talking.
No, we got grilled octopus.
Which was really good.
We
but didn't
got
eat
saganaki, which is like the feta, which I normally don't eat,
Oh,
with like sesame
saganaki,
seeds and
yes.
honey. They dip it.
It's
in,
like our version of
honey
anyone
version.
who knows what kinafe is, or we call it knefe, but
I'm Greek and Ralph's Lebanese. If you
Amer-
guys don't know.
yes. So American calls it in English. It's called knefe. It's like sweet bread. You guys decided to put salty cheese on it. We
Mm.
kept it nice and sweet and normal.
Yeah, so we just made it better and
You
trademarked
guys
it.
know how to market.
We
it.
Kardashian. That's what I always
Exactly.
say.
That's what we always say. The baklava, whoever invented it, the Greeks knew how to market it.
Yeah.
I'll give them that.
I made it better. But, like I was saying, I would order a drink first, and if I wasn't into them, what I would do is I would order a dessert right after, like, the drink, so we could, like, wrap up the date faster. And then I used to, like, go and hang out with one of my best friends, Jamie, right after, and just talk shit about the date. So she would be, like, texting me, like, how's it going? And I would be, like, ordering dessert. And she would be like, okay, like, he's not staying out the day long. And they thought it was, like, a skinny legend. Because they were like, oh, he just had, like, one drink and, like, a dessert. And he was,
Well, in our
like,
community, it
you
could
know, he
go,
laughed.
listen, it depends on who the person is. They could read it differently. So, one drink and dessert, no meal, nothing.
if I wasn't going to see them again, then no, I don't care.
Okay, if you say so. If you say so.
Sex on the first date, yes or no?
Big yes. Absolutely. Listen, I'm not one to judge. Whoever wants to wait, by all means, more holy to you. We didn't. I'll be honest, the reason why
Yeah, but we talked for weeks before, so it's different. It's not like we had just met on a dating app and then a couple days later we had our first date
No,
and
we
then
knew
we
each
had
other.
sex.
Listen, we knew what we were doing, especially knowing what was gonna happen, and obviously you want to know what you work with. You want to see if there's more than just conversation and what you're working with.
Yeah.
You want to know if you're compatible with that person, not just based on chemistry or what you agree on, what you disagree on. No, you want to see if you're sexually compatible as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people like to wait. By all means, more power to you. I just did not want to wait. I wanted to see what was under the hood. That's all.
Do you remember? So one of Ralph's friends, we were telling her that like you know, it was very important for her to wait till marriage, and I respect that. A
And
lot
I
of
love
people
that
do
about her.
that. Like
Yeah, a
I
couple
love
of
when
friends are like
people,
that.
yeah, and I love when people do that. But we were in the pool, and Ralph got out to take like a phone call, so I was sitting in the pool with our friend, and she was like, "Can I ask you a personal question?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." I'm like swimming up, and she's like, "How long did you guys wait to have sex?" And I
He was
like,
swimming up because he thought it was probably gossip or something.
Yeah,
not
so I was
because
like-
he's excited for the question.
"Yeah, honey, I got big ears, and they hear everything." So I was like, "Oh, we waited like 3 months," like, and she was like, "Oh my god, that's so beautiful," and I was
As
like,
soon
"Thank
as
you."
I got off the phone, she looks at me. She's like, "Oh my god, I'm so happy for you. That's so cute what you did." And I'm like, "What is she talking about?" He goes, "You waited 3 months."
She said,
She
"You
said,
waited 3 months to
"You-
have sex," and
You
Ralph was
waited
like,
3 months. I was like, 3 months? 3 months, the first 24 hours. What are you talking about? She's like, "Oh my god, no."
And I was like, "Psych."
No, we did not wait at all.
What made you on the date? Like, obviously we knew it was going well, but what did you like miss about me the most? Like, what made you want to like see me again? I don't know if I've asked you this question before.
Well, this is where it gets fun because you catch me off guard, and beside you being nervous and spilling the water, I thought you were so cute. You were so. I thought you were so cute. There was some sort of. Actually, I was telling one of my friends this morning about this. There was purity about you. You were.
You think so?
There was something pure about because I know how much of. I'm a villain in a lot of people's eyes, and I take great pride in that.
He loves being a villain.
Of course I do.
I mean, the
It's-
villains normally have the better outfits and powers, but still.
So there was just something about you was so pure, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I was just so intrigued by it. A lot of people had asked me at the time what was the one thing that stuck out about him, and I was like, it's how gentle of a person he is because I know how much of a rough person I am, and this is where the opposites.
I wouldn't say
attract.
you're rough. I would say that you're tough and you're confident.
Thanks, babe.
I wouldn't say that you're rough though. But me next. I loved like the way
Again, the reason why I don't ask him is because A, I know he's gonna tell me, and B, because I've heard these 100 times because he reminds me constantly.
Well, I remember that I loved the way that you were so confident when you were telling stories and like how like comfortable and everything that you were on the first date. Like you didn't seem like you were like anxious at all or anything, and I really loved that. And I love just like I could hear you talk for forever. I know you get annoyed with your accent, but I like could listen to you like talk for like ever. I love
I
your
don't mind
accent.
my accent. I love. It's one thing when someone calls me out on it, but it's a whole different thing when someone admires it, and knowing how much you liked it made me like you even more. So I was like, okay, he didn't do the typical. There's a lot of people on the first date, they would make fun of certain words I would say, and I'd be like, oh, okay, cool, well, I know where this is going, so it didn't matter.
Oh, you know what else I loved? I just remembered.
Don't say good, because I sound like Apu from The Simpsons when I say
You
good.
don't
so
sound like
don't.
Apu from The Simpsons, but one of the things that I loved when we went on our first date, and it's because I grew up in the restaurant industry, because like I'm Greek, so like obviously, is I always look to see what the other person's leaving for a tip. So like I was just like glancing over, and I think you left like just over 20%, so that was good. And
I'm
I was
not
like,
here to
okay,
pay
so
someone's
he
rent.
tipped well. No, but that's important
we
to me.
tip-
If
but you
I'm out
tip
with
well,
somebody
you
and they
have to
don't
tip.
tip well, that's like that's a red flag. For
Oh
me.
yeah,
Like
it's
I'm
especially
like-
in the food industry. There's
Yeah.
a lot of those, specifically those jobs. The tip is the majority of their night or
yeah.
their pay, I should say.
Mhm.
And when you don't, it's not fair. Like, why? They don't. What did they do to you? If
Right.
the food was bad, it's not their fault. If the hostess was bad, or your table was wrong, or anything, it's not their fault. They're just literally taking your order and
Yeah.
going back to the kitchen with it. They're not preparing your food.
No.
They're not doing your drinks. They're
Mhm.
literally just bringing to the table
No.
what you are requesting.
No, but that's the thing. So I always look that is my red flag or my white flag. Like if they're how they tip, because then I'm like, okay, if you're not a good tipper, then like you're probably an asshole, because nothing went wrong on like that the server did. So, reflecting on our first date, how do you think that our relationship has grown since then?
How has it grown? In so many ways. One way is, at least when one of us gets to the restaurant before the other, if we're not going together or we're meeting up or anything, one thing I love is I will arrive to the table and I know that my drink is ready because he already ordered it for me.
Oh.
So I love that. I always am like, how long? I love when he'll say to me, "What's your ETA?" And I will tell him like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, and drink will arrive as soon as I do. So it's awesome.
I think that the way that we have grown the most is definitely communication. Everybody
you
always
won't agree
asks
deeper
me.
than I was.
I'm just saying.
No,
I'm saying we communicated like really well on our first date, and then we kept that communication going. Like, we can both be super stubborn, but we always like do a good job of communicating, which I love. So that, I would say, was the thing that I loved that progressively grew, like, as we were getting to know each other. So I'd probably say that.
Absolutely. Of course. We had...
And I just remembered another red flag is if I'm at somebody's house. Sorry, my ADHD is kicking in. If I'm at somebody's house, I always like to see what fragrances they have. And I went into his, and I was like, please God, like, don't let there be any like bod spray or Axe. So I look, and it was like Creed, Invictus. What is it? What is it? Aventus.
Aventus Creed is one of my favorites.
Paco Rabanne 1 Million is one you wore. Oh no,
Yeah.
which one did you wear on our first date? You wore Creed. Yeah.
Special occasions is always Aventus.
I was like, thank God, because everybody always says
Paco
how I
Rabanne
smell.
Is more of like going out. I love that smell.
But that's important to me. Everybody always says how like amazing I smell, so I always make sure the person is also like smelling amazing. And for those of you asking, I wear Valentino, Born in Roma, Coral Fantasy. It's my favorite scent. Thank you, Valentino. Ever since I sent it to me, it's like all I wear. My second one, since nobody asked, is Versace Eros. And my third one, since nobody asked, is
again, emphasize that nobody asked.
Yves Saint Laurent. I think it's Lome. It's like the brown bottle. Regardless, we'll link them for you. But you guys, that's it for our first episode. This was so much fun. Our first epi.
On to the next, and this is gonna get a lot more fun, a lot more interesting, a lot deeper, very personal. You're gonna see different sides of the villain, I guess.
Well, like Janet Jackson says, we go deep and we ain't get no sleep because we be up all night until the early light. You guys, we hope that you loved this sesh as much as we did, and make sure you let us know your thoughts on TikTok, on Instagram, and we love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
See you soon.
Remember to keep your conversations refreshingly simple and deeply meaningful.